Mandem podcast, episode 190. We are back, boys.
We're back.
Morning.
Yeah. Good morning, man. Good morning, fellas. Got a couple of guests
watching. If you're up on the YouTube, we've got some guests. How you man doing, man?
Yeah, we're good. Very good. Tired,
but happy to be. So we appreciate the invite as well.
What's this? Too early for you, look?
No, bro, it's just
what you man began to COVID parties.
Working kids, locked down on the brand, bro. That's a crazy mix. It's a crazy.
I hear you.
And then if you got more kids on top of the one, bro, times that by 3, 4.
Yeah, I heard that.
No, but it makes it like it's tired, bro.
Yeah, fair play.
Fellas, introduce yourselves.
Go for it, then.
Yeah, because we haven't introduced you.
So I'm Jonathan, one half of Gifted London, or Good for the Day.
And I'm Barry, the other half of Good for the Day, or GFTD LDN, should I say?
Yeah.
If you've watched us previously, hopefully, you would have seen me wearing this hoodie. This hoodie comes from them.
And I just say
I've been
Liz only
my chest for a long time. Like, Liz, what's going on, bro? How long have you had that? How long have you had the goods and you ain't shared shit?
When did you lot send this to us? It's been some.
It's been a minute.
So in my defense, it was when we were in.
Oh, here we go.
I'm
quarantining.
It's serious, man.
It was in one of the lockdowns, right? And I think we've done one episode where we've done it face to face. So since then, I've not had a chance to give it to them.
I've seen you still.
He's not shielding you, bro.
I've definitely seen, man.
But now there's a chance that they're contaminated in that, so I don't know. Next week I might wear the other one. The week after that I might wear one of the hats. So
the thing is, we literally would have sent one for everyone, but because
you trusted him, didn't you? Innit?
The hoodies are the dead stock in the sense that we don't do restocks. We didn't have what do we have left? And it's like, look, we can put this in there, but literally that was all we had, other than samples and stuff like medium.
It doesn't matter, man. It's always appreciated. I mean, it fits me good. So
we got you.
Guy.
No, it's like you send us out your addresses and we'll send it to you, because obviously there's like some kind of like
send it through me. I got to make sure it's all right for them.
How long you lot been going for, and how do you know each other as well?
So we've been going for the Gifted, the actual brand in terms of when we dropped was last was basically coming up to like a year and a half. But we'd start like in terms of like the Instagram page and like the idea sort of becoming a reality. It was about
2017.
2017. So 2 before that. So we know each other because basically when I left uni, looking, I didn't know what I wanted to do really, but looking for a job. And my sister put me onto some. She must have seen an advert in somewhere on the internet, basically for like learning mentors in certain schools in Hackney. So I was like, look, I'm not doing anything at the time, so I thought to myself, and I needed to obviously to find a job. So went to an interview, and there's 3 people on the panel: head teacher, deputy head, and Barry, who's basically like the head of the learning mentors in Hackney, basically.
Okay.
And so I thought, like, I felt I did really well in the interview, but didn't get the job. But then he called me afterwards, basically saying, like, you know, I felt you did really well. Kind of tell me, like, you know, it might have been going to someone else anyway, but I got something for you, basically. And and at the time I was obviously disappointed, but I was just thinking, this guy ain't gonna come through. Like he's just trying to. You got something else for you, just a little pat on the head. But he brought me to another school, which was, you know, not far, again in Hackney, and I got a job there. So I think like from that, and just seeing him come through with that, and obviously give me another opportunity, it was just sort of like I looked at him differently, and I looked at him. I was kind of inspired anyway, because he was like, you know, he was in a big role from like a quite young age.
And I was going to say the role you mentioned just seems like quite a senior role. Yeah, you look fairly young, so kudos to that.
So, it was do you know what? To be honest, when he went for the job, they had an idea without it, because I've left the role now, so I can maybe talk a little bit clearer. They already had someone who they had an idea for.
Yeah.
But on the day Jon had done so well, I was actually very impressed in terms of the credentials. And it wasn't a job that he hadn't been working in education, but he was able to relay because he had done like football coaching and relay. And I just felt that he would be able to have to move up within the education system, because I'm very keen to be able to see where people have sort of like the skill sets to be able to offer areas and also be able to develop. So I just referred him to the other school. I wasn't even on the interview panel for them. I was just like, do you know what? I think he will have sort of like the credentials and the skill set to be able to help you. I gave him the job, and then we just kept in contact from there. And that's probably about what, maybe over 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. 21. And then it just started off. So like when there was like certain training sessions and CPD, like professional development and courses he was running, and I'd see him there and he'd be like, chop it up, blah blah. And then we'd like start meeting up for food and stuff like that. And then it just grew from there. You know? And I mean, fast forward like 11 years, 10 years. Then we just obviously had a conversation. I think like, I don't even remember like the day of the conversation. I was even trying to think out, you know, when people like, it was on January the 22nd.
Yeah.
2008. But it's like, I genuinely don't remember the day. All I remember is that we just had a conversation about, like, as you do with your brethren, sometimes you just have deep conversation. You just like, sometimes like, we want to do more, like, and we both had a love for fashion in the sense that he had done like work outside of, or done courses in the, you know, London fashion schools and stuff like that, outside of what he was doing, his day job. And obviously I like and then I had started a few little ventures myself, and then we just got to a point where it was just like, maybe this is the thing, not even maybe this is the thing, like this is the thing. So we just like, all right, look, we're gonna do it. And then from that point onwards, it was the 2 years of research, the 2 years of working, the 2 years of learning. And then that's when we dropped the brand about a year, coming up to a year and a half ago.
But we spent like a lot of time in terms of just doing a lot of like research and development. So just going to just like factories everywhere, just all over, like say from like Italy, Nottingham, like London, Birmingham, Kingston, all over Leicester, all over
doing it properly.
Do you know what, to be honest, because I think like, especially for us, when you're starting up a brand, there's always like a stigma. So for example, if I say to someone like, we've got a brand, it'll be like, oh, what do you do? T-shirts, because it's just primarily from that kind of aspect. And even for us, it's like, we actually looked at what would be a way that we could actually get our foot into the door, but doesn't necessarily like destroy our pockets. Because what happens is that when you approach factories, like the business aspects of it is that they're asking for minimums and certain
minimum order value and stuff
order
like
quantity.
A minimum quantity of like 700-800, and I'm like, whoa, actually we've just started. If we do 700-800, then in my house and in his house, we're just gonna have
a small factory, small warehouse.
You do it, but it's when you're going through the process of doing your first launch, you're not going to get so many people. So we were having to find factories actually, listen, look, you can make money off us, but you can make money off us long term, because a lot of the factories, they just see people come in, actually, okay, yeah, we can do this, and you pay them however many thousands of pounds, you're out of pocket, they've made their money, but then they haven't got a customer who's actually going to return back to them and then come back. It's almost like just coming in and having discussions with them. Actually, from a business perspective, it makes more sense to have that kind of long money than that, you know what, let me just do short money and just make a big bag off you, and then afterwards you're in a mess and never see us
again. Part ways.
But the funny thing is, this is why it's what we realize about these factories and what they do is like they the way they talk to you and tell you that, like, you know, these are the minimums, this is what you need to do. If like as someone new into the game, you feel like, okay, so everyone's going to be saying this, so I kind of need to take the best shit deal. Do you know what I mean? So it's a man will say 1,000, that guy will say 500, that guy will say 400, and you'd be like, all right, that's the best that we've got out of all those three.
Yeah.
And then go with it. It takes about 1.5 meters to make a t-shirt. Yeah, 1.5 meters of fabric to make a t-shirt. Like, what's that? 400 will give you, I don't know, like, let's say 300. I don't know what it is. 300 t-shirts. Like, who's starting? Like, which startup without any like clout or without any, you know,
backing or
selling 300 t-shirts off the back. Like,
do you know what?
And that's why people. No, go on. But that's what basically what I was saying is this is why people like will go and buy t-shirts, just get the label taken off, put their print on it, and put
Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan or
Fruit of Looms.
Fruit of Looms.
I mean, because it's just like it's a cheaper, more cost-effective way for them. But it's just like that's not that we knew that wasn't going to be our model, basically.
Yeah.
Do you know what you said something, and I was like, okay. And I know that you guys take this seriously when you said to make a t-shirt it's 1.5 meters. To know that, to split that measurement off the top of your head and figure out how many that will make you, lets me know that you guys take this very seriously.
The intricacy, yeah.
And even having received, I guess, the garments that you guys have sent us, I guess Dan and Rich,
Stop saying us, Stop saying us. Stop saying
garments you have.
The maths was wrong. Though. It should be 600, but the maths was wrong. But it's fine. It's fine. 600.
Having the stuff that you guys sent over, not inspecting, but having a look at that compared to some of the things that you buy from, I don't know, your ASOS, your Topshops and whatnot. The quality, and I'm not just saying this because you guys are honest, and I've said this to other people. The quality is good. Like out of the hoodies that I have, this is like the best quality hoodie that I have. It's nice and thick, like robust. It doesn't lose size. And I guess Dan and Rich will speak on, I guess, the clothes side of things because they've been in it before. It's not an easy thing to be a part of or want to get involved in. It takes a lot of time and effort and work. And like you said, it's not just jumping, and it's something we say all the time. It's not just jumping to, I guess, the cheapest 400. All right, yeah, we'll get stuff done by them. But then, like you said, you get the gilded, the Fruit of Looms. And the quality isn't great. So yeah, kudos to you guys that you're taking this very seriously in the short time that you've been doing it.
Yeah, that's what I said at the start. I said that they're doing it properly. Yeah, they said you went to Nottingham or you went all over just to do your background work. Yeah,
like we went literally all over. Like it was even like I went. My ex-partner at the time, he was Italian, but it was just like we went for like a holiday to like to meet one of our friends in like Milan, and I hijacked the trip, like, and basically just like this trade show place in Milan called like Milan Unicorn. It's like this massive, bruv, like the building. I can't even express to you the size of this place, but it had like tens of thousands of like suppliers, manufacturers of different things from buttons to like certain levers, and it was just like it was like a new world. Even then, it was like a new world for me. Like we just know how big it was, and we kind of didn't even know what we were getting into in terms of like doing it, as you're saying, it like in our words as well, the right way. So it was definitely an eye opener for us.
Yeah. And you lot's story was sick as well, man. Like usually, you know, when we ask how do you lot know each other, from school, same area, stuff like that, and then you lot one was just totally different.
Yeah.
Not really heard a story like that before. Yeah.
Do you know what? To be honest, is like because from the work aspect, I think that kind of helped us because obviously we were working in education. So it's like when you work in education, everything's like quite formal and quite structured.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like across the board, but for the most part, you have to be quite structured. So I think like we've been able to sort of apply that kind of precision into the sort of the fashion stuff. Whereas fashion is like you could tell a man or a guy could say to you, listen, I'll have the products ready by on the 5th. And when the 5th comes, it's like I'm still working on it. Whereas like because working in management and doing stuff, because Jon, like even just to further his story, he's gone from doing the learning mentor to now being an assistant head in a primary school type thing.
Big up, man. That's wicked, man.
Sick.
So it's just like even in terms of like just having structure, like where like governors or the principal or whatever are saying, listen, we want this by this deadline. We're always just trying to apply that with business,
transferable skills, man.
Yeah, and I just think it especially it kind of helps as well in terms of the way in which people perceive you, and even like what you had mentioned about when you receive the top, because we're a startup, we're always going to be just judged by, we could be doing products which are sort of like similar quality to say like Nike or Off-White or whatever it may be, but it's going to be scrutinized because at the end of the day, it's two guys, whether they're black or not, who are new. We're just going to look at it differently because we haven't got, because a lot of fashion is based, or clothing is primarily, I say it's like 90% marketing. It's not even about the quality. It's just about the marketing, and people put like social status on what you're wearing. So they'll look at you and they'll say, actually, okay, he's got LV, he's got Fendi, he's got Louis V. So he's this person's wearing Primark. So they're that. And it's unfortunate because it makes it very difficult for you to be able to get into that industry, because it doesn't make a difference how good your product is, it's how good the marketing is.
Because the thing is, a startup, and if like, let's say Kanye West tweeted, I came across the best brand ever, giftedlondon.com, everyone will be jumping off, buying us
You're
up.
gone, you're gone.
And just going off of what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, he could be chatting the most, like, the nonsense. No one's seen our product, no one's scrutinized it or anything. But they're just going off the back of what that person is. You know what I mean? And it's just like, like startups are held to a different account. And it's like, I don't mind if a guy wants to take off our hoodie and see like, oh, look how it's constructed, how it's been made, what like the cotton, the weight, and all these things. But it's like, have that same energy when you're looking at your Gucci hoodie or your Balenciaga hoodie and stuff like that.
Don't just buy it for the name and then
you just take it, innit? There's not even a look.
They're selling like $4.50, £5, but you don't have that same sort of energy, but you're spending quadruple the amount.
You guys have been doing this for a while, and I think you said you're in your 6th collection coming out in Feb.
6th collection coming out in Feb. Yeah. You
referred to yourself, and you said it quite a few times. Refer to yourself as a startup. When do you think you'll stop referring to yourself as that?
That's a good question.
I mean,
because the reason I asked that is because in my mind, I take the podcast for example, it feels like we've been doing this for a year, 2 years. To me, anyway, it's like a year, 2 years. But then when, like Rich said, when we started this is episode 190. It's a lot of episodes, and that's 5 years of doing so. So yeah, that's why I ask, because sometimes I still feel like we're still new, but we're technically in this space, we're not.
Do
you know what I mean, from my perspective, I think certain times it's almost like there's, in terms of the procedure of being able to get products from idea to design to patent to sample to actually production, we've now sort of got an idea of like, we're quite clear in terms of how to be able to go and do that. But I would say maybe after sort of like, if it was in terms of our official launch, I think 5 years, then I would say that we wouldn't necessarily be a startup, because I think there's a process of you developing a brand, and then afterwards it normally takes about 4 to 5 years for people to actually catch up, where there's like a process of where they're able to see a body of work. I think for us to be able to have a body of work of where maybe it's like 10 collections that we've released, then it will be actually, oh, you know what, these guys, they've got like a body of work which we can go back over the years. Whereas I think the first initial couple of years, it's almost like it's still relatively new. I could be wrong. That's just mine.
Of course.
I hear what you're saying.
I totally agree. It's like your portfolio, your CV. Effectively, you've got X amount of years. You know what I'm saying?
Because I'm quite passionate about football. Sometimes I look at it. It's like, from a footballing term, it's like say for Arsenal, like Hector Bellerin is like 25, but he's still relatively young, but he's had enough games now to not be making the kind of mistakes that he generally sometimes makes.
Say it.
Even though he's a young player, because he's got as like a number of appearances, first team appearances and senior team appearances, playing, whether it was when they were in the Champions League, Premier League, League Cup,
you're holding to a different level.
You're holding to a different level of For us, it's almost like if we've got to sort of like that kind of 190 episodes barrier, I think we're now on probably like, if we were to look at it, maybe like 50, 60 episodes, where maybe when you go in reflection and look back on the episodes that you've done, oh, actually, we could have done this better. We could have asked these questions better. We could have marketed it in this way better. And it's almost like you're learning. So it's just like, I think for us, it will still be that. But maybe it's a really good point that you made in terms of us to highlight, in terms of consistently referring to ourselves as a start.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I just noticed that you kept saying it. But to me, maybe, not that I wouldn't say you're not a startup, but when everyone says startup, it seems like you've been doing this for 6 months to a year almost. But you guys obviously have a lot more underneath your belt.
Yeah.
What? Go on, sorry.
No. You made a valid point.
I was going to say, what is like the goal for maybe 5 to 10 years? You strictly just want to be online, or would you like to have like a shop or a few shops?
He's got like, and I agree with it. He's got this, like, he wants the shop, like he wants.
Yeah.
You know what it is I think I think I'm very big on sort of like community, and I think that with Instagram, what's happened now, it's almost like you can live in this kind of virtual bubble. And within a virtual bubble, you're judged on, or you might judge yourself based on the opinions of how many followers that you have. And it's, especially with this sort of like lockdown, the COVID situation, it makes it where it's very much difficult to have that kind of like human interaction where a person could actually just drop off. They don't even actually necessarily have to buy. We can just interact and have conversations. And it's almost like, even though we're doing this virtually, this podcast, it gives people kind of like a way to be able to get to know who we are behind the brand, and how we actually came across. And I would just like it just because in terms of, I've worked in shops, like as a youngster, as a teenager, I used to work in Selfridges. And so I understand in terms of going into the shop floor, actually getting to see how people piece pieces together. Our pieces. It inspires me, just having conversations and that kind of sort of like human interaction. So that was one of the main reasons as to why. But it's just like now it's almost like you've got that kind of thing in the back of your mind that you could have a lockdown at any time. So then you're paying an overhead of having a store that's kind of money. But that would be the goal in terms of having a shop front, and then also to be involved in more sort of like more community projects.
I think like it's not like, I think like when it's like people ask these types of questions, it's like it's sort of like a monetary value, and like people like, you know, I want to get to the first meal. And I don't even think like when we do the, let's say if we were to get the store, we would see it as a success, but like I don't think it's like there's other things we want to do, like, do you know what I mean? Like we said like whenever we make like a large amount of money that we can take out, like, you know, families on holiday all together, no phones, like social media banned.
Okay.
I'm about that.
Like literally stand, see, like with our kids.
Let's enjoy it.
Chef, we got a chef, so morning. This is all like a chef in the morning.
John's been dreaming about this.
You got a dream, bro.
I'm so serious, like cooking our food in the morning and stuff like that, and then you're with your like grandparent, obviously mums, dads, kids, you know, close friends and family, like no phones. You're just enjoying time on the beach, Caribbean, like, you know, all paid for. No one else is paying. Like, we've got it. That sort of thing. And then, but then when we've done that, then we're looking at something else. So it's just like, I never feel like we'll get to a point where it's like, we're successful. I just feel not like it's never going to be enough, but like we always want more.
Well, for us to put people on as well. So I think we have a lot of people, because I've been listening to when you guys did invite, I was like, previously John had told me, so I've been watching some of your podcasts and stuff as well.
Are you not subscribed and followed?
Yeah. I'm
just checking.
You don't have a YouTube though.
No, it's my personal one.
Okay.
It's more just to do with, in terms of, I think especially in sort of light of the sort of social matters, in terms of being able to have sort of like community hubs and also be self-reliant. So in some cases you get a lot of individuals who are in positions of power, but then to a degree they're helpless to be able to put people who look like them or are from communities similar as them into those positions. So even sort of like the hypocrisy of, I'm not sure if you saw about the £30 free school meal bag.
Horrible.
That was basically someone from the Conservative. It's like their brethren they've brought in to be able to say you can handle the contract.
Yeah, tendering no tender for the contract.
Yeah, it's like if I was to bring, when I was in the school with introduced the person, I said the person assumed, the head teacher, that I knew Jon, and I was like, I don't know him, but I just recommend him being. So there was a bit of skepticism initially. You're trying to bring your own person in, but from the top half, when we're seeing the government, they do that.
It's cool to do,
all the time.
That's the game.
Nepotism is so right.
Nepotism, buddy systems, all of that.
And these are sort of public systems. So I'm thinking of it like, if we've got our own business, what good are we if we're not able to say, do you know what, even if I'm not putting you on, Barry, Jon, what steps did you take? Let me sit down and have a conversation, because we're from like innocent. He's from Islington, I'm from Hackney. Do you understand? So like I understand about all of the struggles, and it's just about that relatability. And that's essentially with Gifted. It's like, it's never been just about, we've got passion about clothes, but the success thing is almost not necessary to box ourselves into, we're just doing the clothes, we're the fashion guys, and that's it. There's too many issues that are going on in life, do you understand, for us to be able to go
bigger purpose. Man.
Yeah, man. A bigger purpose, but it's not just, I don't want it to be, because it's quite cliche, because I think now people say things which generally are taken as just the right things to say. So it's like, oh yeah, I like, there's the buzzword. So it's like people now, everyone's talking about mental health, and even in my workplace and stuff, it's just like people talk about mental health, but they'll still bombard you with like work, loads of work. Contact us and tell us if you're under stress, then please tell us. But you've now given me like 110. It's going to be beneficial to my mental health. So it's almost like I want it to be very honest in our words as well as our actions in terms of the things that we want to be able to accomplish, because there's a lot of talent across the board, and it's just about helping people rather than saying, you know what, if I help this person, they're going to go and overtake us. Like they're supposed to overtake us.
Yeah, that's the outlook that people have, because we've spoken to people, like spoken to other brands, and like just expected. The problem is we sometimes look at people like, there's some two guys as well, they're like us, you know what I mean? And they're not like people, and we can't hold others to you know, an account that we hold to ourselves. So it's like, you know, our personal values and beliefs are not the values and beliefs of others. Do you know what I mean? And the morals, etc. So it's like I might expect a guy to do that with the message, but no one owes us anything. So I think with that, it's just like we just need to be ourselves. We help people. Like people message us and want to find out stuff. Like the hoodie that I'm wearing is a guy, my guy called Corey, and I met him over like Instagram. He used to
he worked for Hackney Council, but I knew him because it was like local. It was part of the council, the education thing. So I was just even crazy because when I met him, it was just like, oh, he knows, you know him, and he's like, oh, how do you know him? He said, I know him through Instagram, but
that's so mad.
He's got his own brand, Renovatio, and it's like every other week. Like I don't know this guy. I've probably seen him maybe 3 times in real life. One time on the train, and a couple of times when he's dropped stuff at my house for me to support. I've been speaking to him on the phone, like, oh, where's your, like, we hooked us up with our supplier. I think like everyone's got this idea is that if I put you on, you're gonna pass us. It's like everyone can eat. Like everyone can eat.
Everyone, I like that.
Everyone can eat no matter what. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, you know, and some of the stuff we're different brand to that brand. You got a different focus, you've got a different message, and we've got ours, you've got yours, you know, but we can all sort of live together in this industry.
In harmony. Yeah. I've got a question. I guess, Rich and we used to do similar thing back in the day, ages ago. And
it was like ages ago now.
Yeah, that started like our creative spark, and I know there's like ups and downs, I'd say. So what are like some of the struggles you've encountered along the way? Were there any times where you'd say like, maybe we should pack it in? And like, what are your greatest triumphs and achievements?
So like, I think more recently, like we just thought, because like our quantity, we're not doing 200, 300 pieces of one thing. So it was like when sort of initially like COVID hit, so that was drop. It was literally the last drop, wasn't it? Drop 4. It basically, we ended up getting it about 3-4 months after we should initially anticipated. It probably would have been on drop 7, 8 maybe. And it was like constant phone calls, like what's going on, going down, like not being right, waiting too long. And then obviously the factory that we had, like the issues, like, so we have 2 factories. We have one in Leicester for like your sweatshirts, jerseys, hoodies, tees, that sort of thing. And then we have one in Birmingham for outerwear, so jackets, the gilets, the varsity and stuff like that. So like, imagine we had got the factory in Birmingham was actually bigger, so we had got the our trench jackets back on time, no problem. But then we couldn't drop because we had hoodies, jumpers, and what else did we have there? Hoodies, jumpers, tracksuit jumpers, and just basically like another batch that we couldn't drop. And like we basically just calling the guy, and basically people have been off for self-isolating. And we just basically didn't know when the drop was coming. So I think he got it done in the end, and to a good to obviously his normal standard. But it's just like those things we were thinking like, surely we're too small for that to affect us. But after go back to our first drop, like this again, we're like new into it, and we'd got an invoice for our first drop. The guy said, so we were going to this guy in Whitechapel, and what's so annoying is like he did it so well, but like, I mean, our piece is so well. When we went to him, we said, look, like, we're ready for production. We got the material sent to him. So he must have said, like, this is the price. Cool, giving us a price. So let's say he said $2,000. Let's just say. So we've got the material sent to him now, etc. We've called him, said, look, the material's coming to you tomorrow. Like, would you be able to start on the production Monday? He said, yeah, no problem. Friday, so the Friday before the Monday, we get another message from him. So he sent us another invoice. So I'm thinking, why has he sent us another invoice? But
invoice.
He just added. He just doubled the P. Like, just doubled. Like, so I'm looking at it. The numbers have stayed the same, like in terms of the quantity. So I'm looking at him.
What's going on here? Yeah.
I called him. What did he say? Like,
he said that was
the market rate. Or something.
He said that the invoice, basically that the price it changes, so it just changed because obviously when he had given us the first initial invoice,
3 weeks.
That was 3 weeks ago. So now but we were like, but it's doubled. So literally, I think of all of the times, that's the one time that we're going to stop, because literally we had been on Instagram, said literally like
taking money
a date.
Yeah.
So literally, then I've had to call. I had a friend, and he basically used to shift stuff, so he's had to go and pick up the stuff.
200 meters, 300 meters,
and I'm talking about, this is like a roll that is just like, it's massive.
Yeah.
2 rolls, do you understand? Brought it back. I've got it in my house. Like, obviously, like, my missus is vexed. It's almost dropped on my kid.
All of that.
Then we've had to go.
It was on Bank Holiday Monday. Bank Holiday Monday now.
Safe.
Driving around London, Bank Holiday Monday, not even knowing that factories open, going to like factories that we'd been before and people who'd been before to see if they could offer us like a better deal. This on Bank Holiday Monday. We were sitting in what's the retail park? What's that retail park?
Tottenham Hale.
Yeah. Like literally sitting in the car, both of us looking at each other, we're just like, we're gonna have to give people back their P.
Okay.
Like that's genuinely like, we're just figuring out how much we have to give back. We're like, but we're gonna have to give people back their money because we're not gonna be able to
deliver.
I think
can't deliver.
Yeah, exactly. We can't deliver. But one thing he's always said is just like, and what we used to do is like we would always put like a date on it. We'd always put like, oh, we've got to have this ready in 4 weeks and blah, blah. But then you kind of set yourself up for failure because you know that
you can't.
Factories, they're not as organized as you are. More often than not, they're like a week late or 2 weeks late. So it's just sort of like, if we give people like a ballpark, it'll be ready in March. Do you know what I mean?
Cool. Yeah, you got 30 days.
March the 1st. Yeah.
Because they with the, especially what I learned about the factories, what they'll do is that I go to a factory and I say to them, listen, I need this done by a certain date, but I might pay a bit on top. So I might give a man a drink and say, listen, if you go and do it. And what they're doing is that
make sure
pushed. So our work, because we've just got the set price. If I said to him, an extra 5 bills on top, he might move it up and then get the thing done. But then at the end of the day, it's almost like we're just expecting, you know what, like if he or she's giving us their word, then we're going to work towards that.
Yeah.
It's a different industry, I guess.
Yeah.
The new rules.
How they do it. And we literally, that's how we learned about in a sense, it was, I'm very big on, in terms of certain times things happening for a reason, and like in terms of from a religious aspect, in terms of God being in control. So it's almost like if we didn't have that incident, we would never actually would have found this factory that we're working with in Leicester.
The first factory that we're working with now in the first factory that we work with for our drop in Birmingham, that we stumbled upon, because like these factories, they're not just online. Like, do you know what I mean? They're not online, or you just, there's their website and like they got their prices. No,
you got to do some digging.
Some digging, like, do you know what I mean? You see all these numbers and you're just like, where can I find these places? But so even the factory that we did the first drop with, we only did that drop with them. Do you know what I mean? And we ended up with the guy in Leicester. But had we not have done that, we would have. It's the guy in Leicester. I don't think we would have come across, like, never.
Yeah.
Guys who do our outerwear in Birmingham
was a
go through the guy in Leicester.
Oh, see, yeah, man.
Everything happens for a reason.
So everything was cool in the end.
Oh yeah,
so we got the drop, but it was like we were like 4 weeks. Like we were 4 weeks later than anticipated. But everyone got their pieces. We didn't shortchange anyone.
Nice.
It's a good start.
Yeah. Customer support was on point.
Apologies are a lot cheaper.
Say it again.
Apologies are a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Do
you know, we would have. It would have been. The thing is that if we gave the money back, it would have just been because obviously you want to start as you continue. So
of course,
it would have been really bad for us in terms of like it would show that we can't deliver in regard on products that we've actually said that we would. And that's like a major thing for us, is to make sure that like we keep our word at all times. If we say we're going to be able to drop something, we are. If we're going to be able to ship something out, then we ship it out. Just in terms of like building up that kind of rapport, because it's hard to get a good rep, but it's easy to lose it. It's easy.
You can lose it in a second as well. It doesn't take long to lose it. It takes a lifetime to build it though.
Yeah.
Same with football.
It's like football. Well, as good as your last game. So it's like a person could do 10 good games and they play one bad game, then you've got people on Twitter like,
slaughtered.
On the flip, I guess, of Dan's question, has there been a moment where something's happened or you've done a drop and you've just thought, right, this is like, it's been good.
Cold.
This is mad. Like, this is us. We did this.
I think this hoodie was our most like sought after piece for sure. And like I mean, because initially we started off as like in our eyes, we were like, it's gonna be a menswear brand. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, even though we had a girl in the first drop, it's like, I don't know if it's with the Instagram thing. I just think girls are maybe more forthcoming with their opinions and their thoughts. I think Mandem a bit like, it's not cool to tell them, man, they're cool. You know what I mean? But so initially we thought we would be a menswear brand, but just through like, you know, girls messaging us and saying that they like the stuff and whatever, we just like, you know, why pigeonhole ourselves and say we're a menswear brand? Like, we're just a brand and who they like produce dope pieces like for anyone who genuinely wants them. But like this hoodie was like everyone like messaging, but we don't do like restocks, or we don't do drops. We don't do restocks, and we don't bring we won't bring that hoodie out again. But like, I think that one was like, I think our most popular piece. And then I
think that's one of the ones. That's the other one you sent me, I think.
I thought
it looked familiar. I was thinking, I've seen that. Yeah. I have that one in a tuck.
I think that piece, but like I'll put like personally, like I think the gilets that are coming out now,
I've seen them. They
A
look
lot
cold.
of people like popping out the woodwork. That is, oh wow, you're my brethren. Okay. But
New cousins and shit.
A lot of people have taken to that as well. I think our favorite, if we look at like our favorite piece, is like my favorite piece is like probably like the varsity jacket.
Yeah, I'd say the varsity, and even do you know what? Some of the stuff is like we got even some samples that they didn't even really see the light of day.
Okay.
But I would say for us, one of the sort of like the worker jacket. I think it would probably be in terms of we had like a company contact us in terms of, and that was when it was almost like, oh okay, because you don't know, like especially when you're working off Instagram, it's off isolation, and like what Jon said, it's like people aren't generally sort of forthcoming in terms of coming to you and saying, actually, you know what, we really like bits and pieces. It's almost like a person will do a person may like and just put that, like press the double tap, but they won't actually put comments down. In terms of being contacted by a company and then asking in terms of like possible collaboration, and also in terms of like just being contacted by people like in the States and Australia in terms of them shipping and actually selling over. It's almost like, you know, sometimes you think it's like a ghost account. It's like, oh, how do you find out? How do you know about us type thing? You understand? It's like, oh, like we just like the stuff type thing, and it's just like it's just really strange, you understand, to us, because it's almost you believe in yourself and the work that you're actually doing, but you don't know how well
other people.
Because sometimes you just
received
kind of like reaffirmation from someone.
Yeah, of course.
You know, actually, you know where you're on the right path. So there's been a few things that have actually happened in regards to being contacted by the company, and also other people just liking and buying the stuff that you're actually, you know what, before we were having to like do loads of reposts, like especially for the first, second and third drop, but now it's almost like we'll put it on and then people really like it. And also we've just gone to the next step of having actually our own website, because we were on Shopify before, but we just have an open one and just have videos and detailing about who we are, so people can consistently see, even if there's nothing on the site in terms of stock may be gone, at least people can be able to see what we've done in the past, and not overly reliant on actually we've got it on Instagram. So on Instagram you can be able to see, because if Instagram shuts down,
then what?
What to understand, how does that actually work? Especially I think with this whole conspiracy around the WhatsApp and the data and stuff, it's like it could, and it could happen with like Instagram. It's like then you lose. How are we able to take the attention away from Insta to like our own platform where we can actually control in terms of the dialogue and the narrative, and people are still able to contact us either way?
I like that.
Yeah.
In terms
question. I was I guess I should have asked it earlier, really, but the name "Good for the Day." I think one of you guys mentioned mental health earlier as well, and I wondered if the two were connected at all.
Do you know what it was? It was mainly. Do you know the?
I wish we had a story to gas it together. When he explains it, you was like,
do you know what? Now I should off the top of my head, I should know. It's like my family's is West African, like Nigerian and Ghanaian. So basically, what it was that when growing up, my mum was just like, we just went to church all the time. So there's a parable in the Bible, parable of the talents, and basically it was just like there was a guy and he had, one was given like 1 talent, one was given 10 talents, and another one was given 1, 5, and 10. But the one who had 1 went and buried it and just sat on it. The other one who had 5 worked on it and got 5 more, and the one who had 10 worked on it and got double, got even more. So basically what it was I transferred because I didn't want it to be talented. It was more to do with like gifts, because I believe that everyone has a gift. Everyone is unique to their own extent. So we had, everyone's got gifts, but certain people, it's like you get boxed in because you go to whether school, whatever, they say, okay, this is what you're good at. You get a job and you just work on one thing. But I believe that as human beings, we're multifaceted. So we can different areas. It's not as if you could just be an education person or whatever it may be. So I thought of gifted, but when I've gone to look online, obviously gifted's been taken because we've only started. So I thought of GFTD, but then I was just thinking, do you know what? Okay, GFTD, because you know, like you have like London is like LDN, right? That's So let me just break down gifted, but I said, let me think of an acronym for it. So then it was just like, okay, actually good for the day, because the clothing is good to wear for the day. Also like in terms of like a kind of a mantra to be good for the day in terms of like person. So I never really thought of it from a mental health, but I can steal that now and then just adapt it. So
We're gonna want some royalties on that.
1.5% or something.
John said it. Everyone's got to eat.
That's it. There you go. I like that as well, man.
Go on, Dan. You was gonna ask.
So yeah, I was gonna say, in terms of, I guess, away from your brand, like what are your like inspirations and whatnot? I guess the hoodie you've got on there, it reminds me of Chinatown Market a little bit. Just by having a quick look. But yeah, what are some of the brands that like you guys like? I know today is about good for the day. But
I mean, like there's loads, and then I think like now that we have a brand, I think like we're even more receptive to like not even necessarily just inspiration from like clothing brands, but just inspiration itself. So it could be from designers, it could be from artists and stuff like that. And I think that's like, you know, the beauty of like Instagram. It sort of kind of brings it all together. But like, you know, love Carhartt.
Carhartt,
yeah.
Workwear.
I can see that still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
If we were ever to do like a collaboration, like that would be like number one.
So
Like,
I say like Carhartt, like
APC,
our APC, our legacy.
Yes.
Like even just Cos, Reese, Amy Leon Dore.
Okay.
They're speaking your language, Dan.
Yeah, man. From the same cloth, man.
Do you know what? To be honest, it's like the ones like say like Arquette, Cos, and Reese, because I just like the functionality of like where it's like well made, but it's not overly branded.
Minimalist.
Like, you know what, for myself, it's like I've just gone through style stages. So there's ones that have been consistent, because even though Stussy and stuff, it's like it's quite branded, but at the same time in terms of what they have to offer and what they do. But then I'm at a certain age, because I'm 39, so I'm not really.
You're passing over.
Yeah, I'm So it's just like, even for it, it's just like, it's not that I'm not against the other ones where they have got branding, but I just like to see like if when they do have their range, it's like it's quite diverse. So there's like maybe a bit, some of the stuff's a bit more formal, some of the stuff's a bit more like there's just a nice mix to it. Either dress it up or dress it down. So
but we just like, I think we just like the brands that, like, you know, if you look at Levi's, like people like Levi's, but it's just like they're like, everyone has a pair of Levi's. Like, do you know what I mean? Like and you don't even look at it and think, oh my god, it's a, but everyone has it. Like everyone has a pair. You know, one pair. So it's just like with brands like that, like Ralph Lauren, like brand, like you don't necessarily look at it and think, oh my days, but it's just like, but everyone has it.
Everyone's got a Ralphie,
and it transcends in terms of like trends and everything like that. Because it's just like, even when I look at it, it's just like there's a lot of brands who, like, again, like almost if it's like into football, it's like you can have a hot season, but then you can be a player that has like consistently good for like
career.
Years, and it's like
Ed Hardy and them kind of
Ed Hardy,
Christian Audigier and all that.
Christian Audigier.
It's like Evisu and all of those things were like really big at one point, and then after kind of like faded out. So it's like with Levi's, it's like you can wear them, and then it's just like all it is just about what I realized, especially with fashion, it's just about cuts and the silhouettes, and just as long as you make sure that the silhouette is fits for you as an individual, then you're fine. But I do think with fashion, it's like it's a lot, because who's it then we're having a discussion about the people who do the tell you about inform about WGSN,
okay,
WGSN said that, like,
so in terms of them informing trends, because one of the reasons why we actually, for me anyways personally, what I wanted to do is that I had a really good friend. He's moved to Australia now, but Sam, who's like an older guy. He used to work as one of the tailors for Oswald Boateng. So it was like, what I wanted to do was more formal wear initially. It was just like me saying, okay, cool, because I'd done some studying around it. Like, okay, someone's like, oh yeah, B, like do a suit, and then after like, all right, cool, it's gonna cost you like this amount, hundreds.
Yeah.
They're like, what? That's crazy. Like, I'd rather go. So it's just like, it didn't, from the business aspects, it didn't really make sense. But at the same time, it was more just to do with, I actually wanted to be able, when I was going into shops, I'm like, I'm not actually seeing pieces that I actually want. So I was like, what I'd rather do is actually start making pieces, because sometimes it's like at the moment in time, it's like, if it's skinny jeans, maybe I want a pair of looser fitting jeans, but I can't get it because that's what's on trend. So it's just like about trying to find those things. And it was just like knowing about the business of it, then you realize that for a creative industry is very uncreative, because people are being told in terms of this is what
I hear you.
You're not
they're
really
forecasting years ahead, like, you know what I mean? So it's it's not even you're just copying what someone else has decided for you, basically.
You know? Then it's on macro level. So it's like on the macro level, you have like places like Zara, which will copy what the high fashion brands are doing, but make it more accessible for your regular person who doesn't want to spend 400 or 500 or however much on the items. So it's almost like, actually, do you know what? Like, because like kind of just big into sort of like old styling and just classic things. So like, there's particular things. Maybe a guy should have like a nice shirt, a suit, good pair of shoes, good pair of trainers, like
Some
just
essentials,
different kinds of occasions, you understand? And it's like, as much like I'm big into the cozy wear, and obviously being from like Hackney and stuff as well, it's just almost like whether it's like your Stone Islands, your Nikes, I'm all for that. But then I just think at certain points that you should have, there are certain pieces which you can be able to adapt into your wardrobe to be able to help you. Because
gotta have a good shirt in your
I remember like starting off and then going for job interviews, and it's like, actually, do you know what? I haven't got anything which I would say that
can't wear this tech fit in an interview.
It's just like actually having stuff and then just being able to dress up and feel good and actually reflect you as an individual, rather than, you know, like in this day and age now, there's like there's a formula to dress.
So like if you see a man in a club, he's wearing a designer top, like bare logos.
On trend.
It was Givenchy a few years ago.
4 bills for the t-shirt.
The stars, the like a rock rider, like a dog.
Now it's just like it's like a Moncler jacket, Dior, like a trainer. Do you understand? And it's like Dior crepe, and it's just like, if you look at that silhouette and the way that it's done, like every single UK artist is doing it, and then now they'll throw in like there's other brands which is nice to see, like a Daily Paper, Benjar, which aren't necessarily high-end brands. They're now like established brands. They're being worn, but then in itself is like the silhouettes are very much the same. So it's very difficult to be able to say. It's like when people say like the youngsters will be, oh, he's got drip or whatever. It's just like, okay, cool, but tell me what he's doing different to that artist. Or to that artist. And there's very few artists who are out there, or people who are in the public eye, who have their own sense of style. Do you understand that they can actually say, do you know what, I shop. It doesn't mean that you can't shop in like Louis V or Gucci or something, but at the very least, from my perspective, just don't buy the same stuff that everyone else is wearing, because it's just like it becomes a bit kind of like boring to be able to see, because it's like it must be a mazza when you go in a club and you just see, you know, he's got the same Kenzo jumper as
it's the Spider-Man meme. It's interesting that you guys, and I'm glad you mentioned, you touched on trend quite a bit, and I've written it down as a question to ask. Do you guys struggle to avoid following trends? So you mentioned Carhartt as, I guess, one of the brands that you guys see as inspiration. Excuse me. Do you, and not just them, but just, I guess, trends in general, do you guys struggle to steer away from what, I guess, everyone is doing, or what everyone is sort of gravitating towards? Because I guess in the world that we're in content creation, I think you get the sense that everyone's kind of doing a similar thing, or talking about a similar thing. And we've always tried to not do that. We try to help it as much as we can. I mean, there's certain topics you kind of have to touch on or will touch on, but we always try and remain different and not just do the exact same thing everyone's doing. Do you guys struggle to do that, or have you ever struggled?
No, the thing is, I feel like, as Barry was saying earlier, like that our whole, one of the big things with us starting our brand is because like we have like a set, like I've always had a sense of style, my own style, like, you know what I mean, in terms of like, I was always trying to buy stuff that no one else had. Like when we were younger, when we were like 11, 12, 13, 14 growing up, that was the thing. So it's like when you were in the area with your friends, you're going out on a Friday to the park, like, do you know what I mean, with your diesel, £10 diesel cologne on. Wearing the same things, like you had different color, like you had different trainers, like a man would have Air Maxes,
the uniform, innit?
Workout, whatever. No, like you weren't all rocking the same thing. So it's like kind of like if you knew you had something new, you'd go to meet up with your friends and be like, bro, where'd you get that from? Whereas obviously now everyone's pretty much doing the same thing or following that same formula. And what he said before is like when we go into certain shops now, it's just like you're looking around and you're like, that's not what I want. You're never really getting what you want. So even like when I was buying a pair of jeans, that I was sort of buying them for maybe the aesthetic look, but then I take it to my tailor for him to get the fit right, etc., and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like of course, like you cannot. I can't say that I'm not inspired by things that are around me, etc. But I feel like all the designs and the ideas are in our heads. Do you know what I mean? But like, I might look at, as I said, like interior design, I might like a color, and I might go with that color palette to go with the design of the gilet and stuff like that, or you know, like the trench coat. That is trench coat, but obviously we've tried modernizing it with the things like with the zips and stuff like that. So it's not like we're reinventing the wheel. We're not like a we're not like a Visvim, but like the inspiration is our own. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously everything we take in from the world around is, I guess, it's subconscious. I think
subconsciously, I was going to say,
I guess sometimes it is conscious. It's like, oh, right, I like that. But most of the time it genuinely is subconscious, because I just feel to myself, it's like, well, if I think about it, like, what startups are doing varsity jackets? Do you know what I mean? Like they, you know, they cost a lot to make, and we were selling them at like £300. You know what I mean? They don't really start. They're starting off with t-shirts, and for a reason, they're starting off with t-shirts. They're starting off. They're starting off with baseball caps and things like that. They're not doing things like gilets. They're not doing trench coats and stuff like that. This is the way we want to do it. And some people might like we had a message the other day. Like a guy was like, what did he say? Like the black-owned business. He said something like, I liked your brand, and obviously I saw it as a black-owned business, and I'm all about supporting black-owned business, but it's like, your prices are mad. But it's like,
right. So that would be my next question, is how do you deal with that? Because in anything, and I guess
it deals with itself, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, Dan and Rich again in the clothing industry, and I guess anything really. Friends and family, people always want to give, and not just friends and family, just strangers in general, always want to give their opinion. And I think with clothing in particular, pricing is always a big one.
Yeah, but you know what? To be honest, it's like I think with us, it's more just to look at it. It's like you've got the twofold type thing. So we're talking about now in terms of people talking about sustainability, and in terms of like the price of making clothes. So it's quite contradictory in regards to it, because people are still going into Primark in their droves, but they know that the reason why the Primark is so cheap is people are being exploited. So when we're doing our clothes, we're doing it in factories where and even though like people are actually being paid a proper amount. So once they've been paid, it's like, it's almost like goes to the point which you mentioned. It's like, we know how much you have to take into consideration when you're buying a clothes. You have to factor in the cost for the actual material, the construction, construction costs, the trims, everything has to be able to be included. So it's like
modeling.
Literally, once we've done all of that, then to be able to put it in, to be able to sell, it's like, yeah, we're making money off it, but it's not like Nike with the Off-White where they say it cost them £5 to make, and then they're selling it for like 180.
1,000% markup.
£1,000 markup. You're like, we might be making just a bit on top. So for me, it's like dealing with that. It's almost like, I don't know, maybe it's sometimes like, Father, forgive them, for they know what they do, do you understand, or what they say. Like certain people just don't have an understanding. They're just seeing it as a product. But what I always say to some people is like, you have to be able to look at it from the perspective of, if you're going to question a brand, then question all brands. But sometimes that sense of entitlement, that actually, do you know what, we're making you. But it's, especially for us as well as Gifted, it's like, though we are two black guys who are running a business and we own the business ourselves, we're also just in the business of, we actually just want to have a product which isn't directed by the color of our skin. We just want it to be universally across the board. Like, if you don't like it, that's fine. We can't like that. You like it. I don't want it to be liked or be put in a place or into a category because it's part of that black-owned business brand,
or under a certain
price, because it's almost like, oh, you should be doing it at this price. It's like, if you're willing to be able to do the maths and understand, and to be honest, even for me explaining it,
that's what I'm saying. We could have explained it and said to him, look, the reason why it costs this is because of this, because I have a child, because I just said to him, like,
John's definitely had to experience it a few times, thinking, this shit is expensive. This shit is expensive.
I know, bro. I don't. And so I tell you why, because it's like, for you to come at that angle with you don't know us or whatever, you don't know the brand, and I know you don't do this to other brands for sure. So if you come at us that angle, like, you don't know any better. Do you know what I mean? Ignorance is bliss. So I say to you, well, I just said to him, like, if you're asking that question, you obviously haven't held one of our pieces in your hand, and the brand's not for you.
Yeah.
Like, your question is not for you. So I don't need to go and say anything to him and tell him, like, give him the cost of the breakdown and stuff like that.
I think for us particularly, what I would say is that our brand is more for people who are into clothing. So it's like, if you're into clothing and you go to, like, you're prepared to spend, like, you've spent £100 or something on a jumper, you've spent X amount, you shop at, like, if you shop at a Levi's, a COS or a Reese, or all of those kind of brands, the APC or something, it's not going to be as expensive, but it will be in that kind of, like, range. It's like, if you understand that, but if you're a person where you shop in, and this is, like, no slight on anyone, if you shop in, like, you don't really spend money on clothes or at all, then it's not going to be for you, because you will look at it like, actually, you know what?
That's too much.
That's too much, because that's not what I spend on clothes. I'm not that into clothing.
You're not comparing apples with apples.
Those are the kind of our market audience. Those are the types of people who we're looking at in terms of, you actually spend money on clothes. You care about you care about the construction of
the
clothing.
quality of it, man,
and the quality of it. Whereas, for me, what was funny is that the person in particular who said that,
Yeezys, wearing daily paper,
wearing Yeezy and daily paper, but it's like, those prices we're not even nearly as expensive as those guys.
But you don't blink.
Question, so it's almost it's like an oxymoron. It's like, you're saying it, but then you're purveying it by going for other brands. So then it becomes like you're, again, it comes to us as being a startup. And I think the reason why we call ourselves a startup is maybe because, in terms of the notoriety, being actually known. So it's like, if once we have that, then it's like, once people say, actually, we're aware of the brand, whether they mess with it or not, then it's like, at least actually we can't really question it, because they're established. Whereas when you're on that road to establishing yourself, every move or everything that you're going to do in terms of,
everything's questioned.
Everything's scrutinized. Even in terms of, like, when you're doing business deals, it's like, people look at you and say, okay, what, Gifted? Oh, all right, they're on 1,000 and something followers, so we'll treat them as that 1,000 and something followers. Whereas we met them and we were at the 20, 30, 50,000, 100,000. The reception or the way that people come in to approach us is completely different.
Of course.
And it's kind of a shame as well, because normally it would be that it's like, if you're going for an interview or something, it will be like whoever's the one who performs the best on the day. But again, it comes to it certain times. It's like, you even, like, again, I'm always going to come to football. You might have a youth team player who comes in and performs really well, but because actually, you know what, I got this person.
Williams on 200K.
Allow me. Fucking shit up on the wing, like, nah.
Got to sit up, That's that all makes, like, a lot of sense. And I guess
100%.
These brands that they spend so much on marketing, branding, endorsements, and then it just, like, over time, it just kind of hypnotizes people, and they just follow things and just carry on doing what the man next to him is doing. I guess that leads on to my, final question that I've got here. What are your thoughts on fashion and where it is right now? I guess it changes and it's in cycles. I remember when us lot were at uni, we went through the denim shirt, the cargo pants, it was weird. The cardigans, there was the cardigan period.
Cardigans,
The polos buttoned up, and then it kind of changed.
All three buttons.
Yeah, all the way up to the top.
That preppy look, isn't it?
The preppy look, So what are your thoughts on fashion as it stands? It seems like we're moving away from skinny jeans and there's loose fits and there's dad trainers. What are your thoughts on the game at the minute?
So I clicked, like, I mean, it's just a cycle, you know. Those things will come back at some point. You know what I mean? As I said, it's generated by a computer, by a company, by someone. You know, they're telling you and forcing these trends on fashion houses and stores. I think, like, you know, our thing is that we just want to come away from trends. And I think a lot of startups, or, you know, brands, early brands, let's say, I feel like they are doing their own thing. I feel like there's a new sort of, there are loads of brands out there, but I feel like in the last sort of 2-3 years, and maybe we're just a bit more conscious to it, but there are a lot of brands out here now that are just doing their own thing. Do you know what I mean? Want to own their own brands and not trying to, you know, give a piece to someone else. It's like we want like total control over what we do. So it's like, I don't think there's any amount of money that can be offered to us to give up a piece, because like we want to be in a position, like we were talking earlier about a collaboration that we thought was going to sort of come to fruition, that would have been like ridiculously huge for us. And
can you say who?
No, I wish we could,
NDA.
Like a huge brand, but
that's just me being nosy. You don't have to answer.
Not a fashion brand. Like, let's say not a fashion brand. So
okay.
So we did like the whole design process with them. We did the whole the sampling process with them. Like, made the dopest. Like,
okay, so it was going ahead.
Yeah, so we, like, in our minds it was all going ahead, and then the person mind that the people that we were working with, like, it was like, it was nailed on. It's coming through. All we need to do is to like sign on the dotted paper, finalize the P's, and then ready to go. And then obviously that was sort of 3.5, 4 months worth of work. And then when we got to the final stage, we thought like, surely nothing can go wrong there. And then like the communication became less, and then you kind of started to see it's like, look, maybe this is not going to happen. And I just think that like it's just important for every brand, or every, like us as brand owners, that you do your own thing and you own it. Because I feel like if the person that we were working closely with owned the company, it wouldn't be a problem. But he had to,
middleman.
He had to ask for money from people at the top, and they had to say okay to that. Whereas now, if we want collaboration with you guys, you just need to speak to us, and we say yeah or no. I mean, and I feel like that's the same with like in terms of what brands are making and creating. Like, you don't need to, like, there's brands out there that will follow what Louis and Gucci and Balenciaga and people and that are doing, and that's, if that works for you, that's fine. But it's just like, I don't really want people to be talking about gifting like, oh yeah, they're like that brand. Like, I genuinely want people to come to us exactly because we're the only people that do that thing, or do you know what I mean? And obviously we can be making like different pieces and, jackets and trousers and whatever it may be, but I want to make things that you can only get from us or synonymous to us, as opposed to, okay, but you can get a cheaper one, Alibaba or something like, I just think that people just need to come away from like these like everyone. I think you can be big enough on your own. Do you know what I mean? I think you can be a force on your own. I don't feel like if you look at the music industry, I don't think people need labels anymore. Like, so people can do it independently, and the same with brands. Like, you can do it independently. So it's like, just be true to yourself. Be like, present what you want to the world. And I feel like there'll be people that are receptive to it, and there'll be people that aren't. But like the people that aren't, like I said, don't waste your time on them. They're not for you.
They're not for you. Yeah.
I do think in regards to it, like just to go back on your question, is just in terms of the state, I do think there's some kind of like corny elements to it, because I think that a lot of people are just working. He said it. But I just think that it's just like it's in itself. It's like there's a statement of sometimes what's it say? There's a statement like a measure of a person is like, if they work with you or they help you with nothing to gain, when there's nothing to gain. A lot of the collaborations, it's almost like, oh, you've got 100 followers, I've got 100 followers. So, and that's the main thing in terms of what can I get off you. So then some of it does seem, some of the collaborations like very fabricated and very fake. And then also I don't really see that there's many major brands that are really doing everything different. Everyone's more or less coming in with similar things. I feel that there's a lot of the kind of like underground, sort of like the ones which aren't mainstream people, they're taking more risks in regards to particular designs and things which they're being able
originality in it.
Yeah, it's the originality in terms of being able to do it. So it's like, even like it's just like in terms of like it's very hard to be individualistic in that game, and that's why I always say it's like, it's very weird, because it's probably one of the most creative, or it's supposed to be one of the most creative. So it's almost like it's very formulated in regards to what people are doing. And I'm even for myself, even like with a lot of the people who are in sort of your major stars, it's like I would like them to be able to sort of like take more risks in regards to the way in which they have their appearance and how they dress. If they've got a stylist, like maybe don't have a stylist, do what you actually want to be able to, because coming in from sort of like being like into hip hop and music in the 90s, it's like there's only one Andre 3000, there's only one Mos Def or Yasin Bey, you understand? There's only one Kanye West in the regards in which he dresses up, and they've been known as sort of like style icons because they don't dress like anyone else.
So true.
Yeah, Pharrell, like why are people then dressing like the same? It's like, and that's what I always say, is like just for people to challenge themselves. If you are going to go for brands, or you are going to even like put yourself up together, like what, like it's almost like researching and just looking at other things, not necessarily going to the ones that the obvious choices. And even sometimes with the obvious choices, they don't even like you. Do you understand? But you're still going.
I'm breaking your back.
You're queuing up for Gucci, but they don't like us. It's just like, imagine you're going to a club. There's 6 of you, and you're all wearing the same variation of the same thing. So you wear the same. It's like,
but then it's like coming across like that. It just makes you seem like you're the disgruntled. And it's like almost just like. Yeah. I just think as individuals, like even though, like for example, like you guys are talking about, like a lot of the ones I've seen in terms of the interviews about like social matters and stuff. It's like I think as a society we need to start doing things different. And I think with the backdrop of COVID and the lockdown, it's clear to see in regards to things that are going on that there's a lot that needs to be changed in terms of how we are as individuals. Even how we are as a society and how we are as individuals. There's a lot of things which for myself, I need to be able to say, you know what, maybe I need to be able to address in terms of actually, even though I'm on lockdown and I'm with my family, I'm actually spending genuine quality time. I'm actually thinking about, and I think like the clothes that we wear, the things that we read, the things that we discuss, the things that we actually do, we actually need to actually think about it and actually, why is it that I'm doing it? And is it because I've been told to do it? And if I have been told, does it actually make sense of what I'm actually doing? So even going into these shops, why is it that you feel the need that you have to spend £600-800? Like, and I know I'm going to sound like, I'll probably sound like the oldest person, but it's even like, just looking at these new musicians that are coming out, like you've spent basically a mortgage on your neck or on your it's like almost like, is it to do that you feel to get acceptance or to be able to show some kind of status? Because I'm not saying that I'm here to dictate how you should spend your money, but there's far better ways. And that's why even for ourselves, it's like me just being able to get my family out and just say, actually, everyone, we're able to spend some time, quality time, where it's like, it's not, this isn't here. There's nothing to be able to build memories, because even during within the lockdown, like my father passed, and it was one of those you actually get to reflect on life itself and what is the meaning, what is it that I'm actually trying to achieve. And if it's me just being able to achieve, so I can stunt on the gram and say, actually, you know what, I got the new kicks, I got all of these other things, then do you understand, on the grand scheme of things, like all being well, my Instagram moments aren't going to be my life. Do you understand? Or how I remember.
And we're not saying that we like growing up, that obviously as you grow up and you grow older, it's like sometimes you're a certain way, so sometimes you're like that, or you start looking at yourself, you start looking at other people and you're like, right, is that me? So like we change and we grow, do you know what I mean? So it's not like we've not been victims of those things growing up, but it's like you have to get, and people will go through this at different points, but at some point you have to get to a turning point. And even I think this is how like Gifted started was like we got to a point, and it was great that me and him were at that point sort of together, where we're just like there's got to be more than this. Like there's got to be more than waking up every day at 6 o'clock, maybe working out, getting ready, going to work, coming home, and repeating that process. And I saw this thing the other day, it was like it's like this image on Instagram. So it was like obviously 52 weeks in a year. We live for around 80 years, let's say, life expectancy 80 years, and then there was like a square for each week, and then obviously 52 weeks, and then 80 years down. And then basically, if you're 30, you're pretty much obviously a third, basically just over a third of the way there. But when I saw it as an image in like a diagram, Bro, I looked at you just like you're running out of time. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could you share that with us, please? Because I
don't want to sit. No. I don't want to sit.
No, but listen,
I don't want to sit.
Lord.
Like the inevitable, like you're not going to be here forever. But it's just like having kids, being at a certain point in your life. I think there's you always get to these turning points, and like you have to start making decisions where you're like genuinely, like what is what is the material, what is this £400 hoodie doing for you, like what is it genuinely doing for you? Because a lot of people, once they buy it and the buzz are buying it and they're rocking it once, they don't want to rock it again because they don't want people on Instagram to see it twice.
That's it. Yeah.
If I buy a £400 hoodie, I'm wearing it every day.
It's a trap, man. It's a trap. It's a trap.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think, like as I said, we just got to a point where we just like, there's got to be more to it than that, and it's like, like memories are not created by, do you know what I mean, what I buy and stuff like that. It's like family, it's friends, like it's community. So when I say about holidays, some people might be like, oh, that's quite materialistic, but it's just like chasing, like you want to, it's those
that's memories, man.
And that's what we want to.
And also in terms of just being able just to support each other when you're going through sort of hardships, because even when Gifted was formulated, I was like made redundant from my job, so it was almost like that was because I had thought about it, like I'd thought about Gifted. I think even I looked on my computer, I already had the name and the idea maybe like 5 years prior, but it took me 5 years to be able to say, actually, you know what,
manifestation,
get it off the ground and actually do it, because it's almost like you can become very structured in the way of like, because we're so used to routine. So it's like I wake up, when I'm at work, you're generally told what to do, what kind of like and boundaries in which you can be able to work into. You can do this, you can't do that. But then with doing the brand, it was almost like actually you can make it whatever you want. I was like, then I'm having to work or switch my mindset to something I've never done before, to try and work independently without being dictated by someone else as this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. So it was like almost like a leap of faith actually doing it, because while I'm there and I'm investing money, it's almost like I've got my missus and my kids like, okay, cool. Like you're doing something, but it's like you're not sure to what the return is. But so money's come back, but the return is actually now I'm far more happier in terms of being able to flex my creative ideas and being able to get those things out. And actually, in terms of the journey, where like I want to, like in terms of the thought process, it won't be that I'm going to have an interview with four other brothers, do you understand, on a podcast. All of these things, it's like but sometimes it's like, I think for us, it's like we put so much pressure and onus that we're actually trying to think, you know what, I need this,
there has to be a plan. There has to be a plan.
And it's like sometimes you don't even foresee the plan. Certain things come, and who knows where interview in terms of who listens to it or what they take from it. Do you understand? So it is.
Just going back quickly to what you guys were saying before, I couldn't agree more, man. It's just like sometimes in life it's easy just to keep going, keep doing what you're doing. It's just habit. Sometimes you've got to come out of your own bubble, take a step back and just really think about what it is you're doing, why you're doing it, and then create them changes, man.
Facts. This whole like my background in like my degree, like I've no background in fashion, like no background in designing, like no like drawing, nothing, like learned that throughout the whole time, like not even wanting to show him my certain pictures, like I don't want man to laugh at me, you know, them things there, like I can't show you it, and man saying it, no, I'm not gonna laugh and looking at it like, but the whole process of like a learning process for us, and like some people like even ask us, even at work, they're like, because I have, you know, colleagues that follow the page and stuff like that, know what we do and have bought stuff, and they're like how do you do it all? But it's just like we don't even see it. It's not even like a routine. It's just like, this is our life now. Like, do you know what I mean? This is what we want to do. So it's like, there's no that it's not an option to not do it or not put time and not put effort in it. It's like, this is what we're doing now. In the same way that a man who's keeping fit is running every morning at 6 o'clock. It's like, that's what he does. Do you know what I mean? It's not even like, it's not even, we don't even look at it as a dedication or change of routine. It's like, this is it. Like, this is our life now. And this is the thing that, like, it needs to, like, this is the thing that's going to work for us, but it needs to be this to, I think, for us to feel fulfilled, you know, in what we're doing.
That's cold, man.
It's important.
I guess
I think you can see that in the quality of the products and your passion.
Yeah,
I think it shines through, kind of thing. Go on,
Yeah, definitely. No, I was just gonna say, I guess for people listening and anyone, we've sort of touched on, I guess this time that we're in. I know any time really in life, just take a time out, sit down, and think about what it is you want to do next in life, or sort of now's the time not to put off that passion you've been thinking about wanting to jump into. How would you guys advise people to go about doing that? Of course, your way is not the way, but you guys sort of delved into that the same way the podcast kind of is doing the same thing. What would you guys say to people that are thinking about trying to start something but aren't sure? What advice or any words would you give to those people?
I was going to ask the same thing, Liz.
I say the first thing.
Great minds, Matt. Great minds.
I hear that.
Great minds, innit? You know what? Like, I feel like, and people might feel, oh, of course, but like the best way to start is to start. Like a lot of people's ideas, like, and
damn it. That was too easy.
You know what it is? Because it's like, do you know how many people are out there who are like have creative minds, who've got plans of doing things, and but all they do is just put it off. That's what they do. They put it off. They lie, sort of overcome that. And at the end of the day, when you actually start it, you kind of think like even sometimes we have like, why didn't we do this earlier? But it wasn't the right time. Do you know what I mean? Like the time that we started, it was our time. And I just think that what people, as I said, fail to do, they let things get in the way of them, like meeting their and reaching their dreams, is because like
they convince themselves not to do it.
Yeah.
The failure. But then when you actually do it and you sort of like the thing that I love is like designing something and then going, obviously there's a process in between that, but like the end goal being like this tangible product, like, do you know what I mean? Like you hold that people like and stuff like that. And like you need to start whatever. You can do all the research you want, you can do all the practice you want, but nothing's as like real as the match. Do you know what I mean? Like you can do as much training as you want, you can do much, nothing is as real as the match. Nothing's going to replicate that. So in order for you to you have to start. Like there's no formula. Like you have to work hard and all those things. And again, it doesn't matter how much research you do if you do not create that, make this thing, this idea, this notion a tangible thing. Then
I think, do you know what? I mean, for me, it was more to do with, I think I completely agree with John, because I think some people just get stuck on where they have ideas, but they never literally do. I think it's about, one, in terms of doing like research in and around the area that you're looking to be able to see. So if you have particular podcasts and stuff, or say, for example, if it's a podcast or fashion, look at ones that you like. What is it you like about them? What is it that you think that makes them special or unique? So even if it's in terms of clothing and brands, because John's trying not to give trait, like we had multiple discussions, and I think for myself also, I had to find someone who was relatively like-minded in terms of within the fashion, because John and I were close prior to this, but we've become a lot closer because we're having consistent communication about the idea every day. So there's points in time where I'm weak or I might be slacking, and John's like, oh, we need to do this. And then his motivation and enthusiasm makes me more motivated, because it's almost like, it becomes like a competition type thing where it's like, actually, he's outdoing me and I don't want him to outdo me in terms of on an idea. And I think it's about, in terms of sort of like, you've got the research, you look, then you, in terms of just maybe looking at costs of how much it actually will take to be able to do it, and look at those kind of ideas. I would say maybe possibly keep those ideas to, maybe there's a network of people, so people don't necessarily discourage you, because sometimes you can go and talk to family members or friends and they'll be like, oh bro, that will never work type thing. And I think once you get to a place where you can start sharing it with people, because in actual fact, your family's not your audience, do you understand? Or your friends aren't your audience. They're just people who you just happen to know or who are involved in your life.
Because I think people get hung up on those things. It's like friends are not supporting and stuff like that. Like our brand, regardless of friend support or not, it's going to be successful.
Yeah, because I mean, like even for us on our WhatsApp groups, I post on the WhatsApp group and be like, okay, we've done this drop or whatever, if you have a look, or I'll say some of my friends have supported, but not all of my friends have supported. And it's almost like I don't want to get hung up and be like, you know what, that fool, man. He's not even.
It's not about that.
And block him.
And block him.
But I put on your Instagram, I'm like, whoa, serious.
I think it's also about their steps as well.
Yeah.
I saw an interview and Will Smith was talking about, in order to build the perfect wall, it's just about aligning each brick at a time. So it's almost like, even though for us it might seem, it's like when you were talking about the particular stories, it's like when John's spoken about the guy who tried to scam us, maybe want to name his studio, but yeah, it's almost like I even forgot about that but that was like 2 and a bit years ago. But it's almost like like sometimes even we talk to John, I'll be like, fam, we come far, you know, in terms of how we originally started to like. Where it's just like
that was the first drop.
It was the first drop, but it's like even just like the like to be on our 6th drop, it's almost like I remember the first drop in terms of the feeling of like feeling nervous about it, and then even feeling nervous about telling like friends and family about actually we've got a brand. Where it's like even certain people contact me like, bro, I didn't even know you had a brand, because it's almost like that kind of like reclusiveness of, I don't want to be a salesman to my people.
I get it.
I don't even know if I should pick up. He's going to be trying to sell some items where it's just like,
yeah, I hear you fully.
Yeah.
That resonates.
So just about connecting with other people as well, and just asking, like, I've been a pest to people, like on Instagram. It might be like I'll just send DMs and just be DMing people, asking them about particular processes or advice. And I've got like some really strong gems and some really good connections from it in terms of people asking and giving their advice. People I actually respect and people who've actually been in that kind of lane.
Because a lot of people like want to, whatever business that you're doing, like obviously a lot of people think as well that it's solely about the product, but it's also about the people behind it as well. Like I genuinely feel that there's a lot of people who buy from us, like, want to follow the journey, so they feel invested, like they watch the videos, they saw where we had 0 followers to where we are now, but also it's like people kind of they like us, you know what I mean, they respect what we're doing, and they see that we're like honest guys, like just genuine dudes, and then obviously can inspire them, or they feel like, you know what, I'm gonna support him, do you know what I mean, or I'm gonna support him. He's got like that Tyrone. There's one guy that that he followed. How did you start following Tyrone? Like, they were talking about some underground rappers, maybe a comment on some rappers' Instagram, and then this guy has sort of seen Barry's comment, liked the comment, and they started chopping it up, followed each other, and they've maybe followed each other for the last couple of years, and then all of a sudden the guy's like, oh bro, these pieces are dope. Where are these from? He's like, that's my brand. He's like, bro, that's your brand. This guy since like drop 2, he's from 2. It just bought like this is from America. They don't know us. Like, do you know what I mean? They don't. I mean, apart from that conversation between, like, so I just feel like you just need to put I think you just need to put yourself out there. Like, there's just so many situations and scenarios where we just don't put ourselves out there for the fear of rejection and stuff. But like, I think the regret is worse.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
Analogy about, you know, like if you see a girl, like you was in a club and you want to talk to them, and then you're like, before you even speak to the girl, you convince yourself why you wouldn't. Like, I ain't even got to swim.
You be driving home thinking, oh, shit.
Jim, she's living with Jim. She's left with Jim, like you.
Hey.
Like, bro, he looks worse than me.
Yeah.
But he's bad, so
he's bad because he was the one who took the chance to go and
risk, man.
Bro, shoot your shot, man.
There's nothing to lose, man. There's nothing to lose.
Exactly, was it? Like, you get pied. All right, cool, move on. Like,
calm. Yeah. That's it.
So true.
Where can we find you? Where can all the listeners find you?
So at www.gftdldn.com, and then the socials is at GFTD LDN on Instagram.
We'll repost that on all our socials as well.
You know, I've got a question for you lot, because I was watching.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
You know, on their show about the colours.
Switch up, innit? It's our podcast now.
Sorry,
I was like,
Take over.
No, you know what it was?
Take over.
It was you had the show, you know, when you're talking about the great from the FA, and he said about coloured people. And
Yeah.
So I was just going to ask, is like, is it an obligation of black people or people of color to educate white people on how to interact with people of color? Because I know you had said about, you used the buzzword about ally, and you saying that you didn't like the word it being used, but sometimes for myself, it's always about us as, say, black and brown or brown people always having to sort of like educate. And I just feel like on the flip side, we know ourselves on how to be able to interact with do's and don'ts of interacting with white people. So is it that you feel that the obligation should be for us to be able to, or should it be that where we've been around each other for centuries or hundreds of thousands of years, that we should actually have a sense of what's right and what's wrong? I know it sounded completely left field.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
I'm with it. I'll speak. I think it's incumbent on both to, I guess, if it's something that is irking you to the point where, you can't function anymore and whatnot, then speak up. But I do think that it is incumbent on white people to educate themselves as well, because I guess if there is an oppressor, let's say, it isn't the black man. So it shouldn't be for the victim to educate people as such. But I think if it is it's circumstantial, but if it is within you and it's irking you enough, I'd say, that is not how we do things here. That's not how we do things in 2021. Then, but I do believe that, education should be for the masses. And that's in the UK, that is the white population.
Yeah, I agree with Dan, and I've said it on this. We've had this conversation on the podcast before. I think it's definitely on their half where they need to, of course, educate themselves. But I think at the same time, we shouldn't shun. A lot of people say, "Oh, like we're not having that conversation," is the phrase or term people use. But I think it's always important to have that conversation if you need to. And I've always given the example of you're always on a night out, having drinks with people from work, and then there's always someone who wants to have that conversation, but it's never we're not talking about that. I always entertain the conversation, because I don't want a man or a woman to walk away thinking a particular thing about black people or me in particular or a certain thing. It's always, I think if you're always given a chance to educate someone on anything, you should always try to do your best to do so. But I definitely think that it's the responsibility of both to sort of to learn, and on the other side to educate.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's definitely both.
Sorry, go on, Mike.
I was just gonna say it's definitely both. But you raised a good point of we know how to interact with other people as well, where other people don't know how to say certain things or whatever. And I was just thinking, why is that? Maybe is it like growing up, we would watch maybe stuff that you watch on TV, where we would watch like everything. So it might sound silly, but you'd watch like a Fresh Prince, Marathon Kids, as well as maybe like a Only Fools and Horses or stuff like that, down to the shows, whereas other people might just be watching like the shows like Only Fools and Horses. Where I think it is changing, where there is sort of self-education now in the kids, where everything's just accessible and they're watching a bit of everything.
Yeah, because I was more like, because I think that's a really valid point in terms of like the breadth of sort of like cultural experiences in terms of like TV shows as well. But it's almost to do with what was the point I was going to say? So I think sometimes the fear is that where I've been in situations where you might be the only person of color in the office, it's almost like you then become the spokesperson for all. It's almost like
this is what I was gonna get at.
Yeah, you like, there's never a thing where it's like I might approach a white person and be like, "Oh, mate, do you know why is it that you guys do? Do you understand?"
Dan, you say that a lot, Dan.
I said it. I did the same thing with my workplace. With all the thing that was going on across the summer, they sent out some communication, and I didn't like it, and I thought, should I? Should I speak on it? Blah, blah, blah. Ended up speaking on it, because I felt in the mood. I felt like I had to. But one thing, I did state is, I'm not the spokesperson. I don't want to be the spokesperson for all black people in the office. This is just how I feel about this particular incident in this instance. So yeah, I'm not trying to be like a spokesperson kind of thing.
And I don't think there's any harm in talking about it as well.
Dan. That's the important thing to state. I feel like you need to state that. You don't want to be, as you said, the spokesman for all black people. Like, and your opinion won't be reflective of all of them either.
Exactly. It's
so
not one of them.
You have to say, this is my opinion. I know some people that feel this way.
Yeah.
Don't make me the flag bearer for that, because it's not going to be true in all the scenarios. Like, it's my opinion, really, for the most part.
And I don't think it's a bad thing to have the conversation anyway.
No, that's the thing that I would say.
I agree. There's workplaces always comes up as well, different stuff. Like in my workplace, there's a mixture of people, so we're always talking about their cultures and how they do things and whatnot. So you're constantly just learning, I suppose.
Yeah. What was you gonna say?
I think it's important to engage. I just think that's one of the important things. Like, as soon as, if you're gonna deal with any problem, there's only a few like results of it in it. But if we don't engage, then we ain't done. We're not making any progress. So I think engage is probably the most important thing.
Good question, huh?
You see the Chipmunk and the Stormzy stuff this morning?
I need to play that back, man. I played it once.
That's going to be one of my bring-ins now. Still, I think.
That was hard.
Did Chip drop on?
Chipmunk Live,
of course he did.
I ain't heard it, so
of course he did.
2 o'clock in the morning. I think I woke up this morning and said I've seen some notifications. I was just like, heard like notification. Open it, see some new stuff. I was like,
yeah. We got a heads up that he was dropping something yesterday. We got a heads up. He was dropping at midnight, but my old bones couldn't hack it, man. Got to 2 a.m. and I said, I'm out, man.
He dropped it around that time. It's
cold. It's very cold. Very cold. And he's got the mixtape landing in a couple of weeks as well, isn't it?
Yeah, on the 29th.
He's doing some shameless promotion.
Yeah. What do you lot think? Are you lot for how he's got? It's like he's trailing Stormzy. Like, wherever Stormzy goes, Chip follows and pops up with a.
I like Chip and I respect him. I think he's like he's a very he's like one of the best lyricists that the UK have produced. But I feel that what's happening towards sort of like now the latter stages of his career, that he's being known for being like the battles guy and this man, and it's just like, obviously he's had situations where he patched up with Bugsy and stuff. So it's just like, at the end of it, it's like, for me, what I hope is that his mixtape is of some form of substance. Otherwise, it's for
an ode to Stormzy.
What's it for? Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's almost like Stormzy's, he's an established artist, so he's got more to lose than, say, a man like Chip has by going back and forth. And it's like, I know that he's not going to, or I don't think he will, because you understand, it just doesn't, like, for him, it's like, even if people around him, it's like, it wouldn't make sense for him to be able to do it. And I know we could say in the spirit of like the culture or everything, it should be, it will be fun, but it's just like, bro, it's just like, it's a lost battle. It's like, as soon as he responds, it's like he might as well just Jay-Z it all the time and just give some subliminals. So that's where he's got some
just
some compromising pics or some compromising. Otherwise, there's no point.
Yeah, because otherwise, it's just gonna be this small shot, and Chip's gonna get to a point where it's like you can't be making a diss track for Stormzy.
You're just chatting now. No one cares.
But like, I'm for it. Like, I would love to see that, like, him.
Cold.
And like, it would be crazy. It'd be crazy.
Who's your money on?
Chip.
My money's on Chip, man.
Yeah.
I think he's top 5 MCs, like,
ever lived.
Yeah, he's cold. He's cold.
Top 5 for me.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays out, man.
Yeah, man.
Just one, I guess we'll do this quickly just before we wrap up. As you're both teachers, and I guess from each of you quickly, how has it been? I guess we should have asked this at the start of the show, but how has it been for you guys during this whole lockdown, COVID, without saying too much because you're obviously working?
No, I think like, if I go back to like March compared to now, I think most schools would probably be in a much better place. March, we didn't have anything to go by. So we kind of, like, everything was like, obviously planned for, but the plans had to change. We had to be adaptable because it was like an ever-changing circumstances and scenarios. So I think like if we look now, like my school's in a privileged position because like each kid has like an iPad or a laptop. Do you know what I mean? That the school provide for them and stuff like that. So like with regards to like the online learning and stuff and the live lessons and etc. and all these things, it's easy for us to do because we have the like infrastructure and the equipment for it. But then like for other schools who don't have that, and we're in areas such as Hackney, and obviously it's affluent in some parts and advantage in others. So it's like we've got a real there's real disparity from like those who are disadvantaged in the sense that they're having to come into school to collect meals, etc., because they don't have obviously like having the child at home for the whole day is actually taking money out of their pockets, money costly, that they don't have. And also you have people who live in £2 million houses, and etc. So but yeah, as I said, we have the infrastructure that sort of can allow for children to be learning remotely. But like our experience, I think our experience and our experience for our kids are a lot better than what probably the majority of kids are getting. Like we're calling kids every day, like we're seeing them on live calls, we're teaching them live lessons. Parents, like we have some kids that don't have the internet. Do you know what I mean? But how do we ensure that they're getting the same deal as those kids who do have an internet, iPads, and etc. and stuff like that? So it's definitely been, and I think like this time it seems a bit more worrying. I think people are a bit more worried this time than the first time, because I just feel like people thought that the lockdown was going to be, even if we think about staff and stuff, I think they just thought it was going to be in March.
Yeah.
That's come again, and this time it's going to be longer, and it looks like we probably not hit the peak yet in terms of things like deaths and cases. Even though the data could be flawed because more people are getting tested now because they're expected to go back to work. I think that it's really like, we look at us 30 to some of late 20s, early 30s, late 30s, whatever, and we kind of think like, oh, we're okay, it's not going to affect us, etc. But like there's a lot of people that it's really like put the fear of life into
yeah.
And there's some people that would just be like, have the opportunity to send their children into school because they're key workers or they're vulnerable, etc. But there's some people that will not, their kids are not going to school until this has blown over. Eradicated, but I've never heard of a virus being eradicated. So it's like, it's a real difficult position, even from the position of like not only assistant head, but as a parent. Do you know what I mean? Like my daughter's meant to start nursery like last week, like in her first sort of week in nursery. Like she goes to a childminder now, but it's just like, I don't want to send her. Do I want to send her to? Trust the processes that they have. Like, does it make a difference? Seen as though like children are not carriers and they don't show. I mean, children are carriers, but they don't show symptoms. Like, what difference does it make? I might as well send. Like, there's just a plethora of things sort of going through my mind, and it's just like it's very difficult to kind of. Sometimes you just got to step out of it. Like, I can't watch the news. Like, I can't watch the news. I let the notifications come through my phone. But I can't watch the news because I guarantee you, all of us have had a conversation every single day in some way, shape, or form for the last year about COVID.
Yeah, 100%.
Dominated. Like, it's been ridiculous. So it's just like sometimes I feel like you have to try and take a step outside the storm and like really try and, obviously when I'm in work, I'm in it. But I think when I'm outside that, I just need to like focus on like family, what we're trying to do, because it can really consume you, and it's like I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not trying to say it's not real. It's like people are dying from it. Do you know what I mean? Wherever it is, people are dying from it. So I think that hits home more than anything.
Yeah, it's been hard because of the for myself, in terms of it, the organization and the structure of it, it's been fine. But because I've got 4 children, so but I've got I've got a baby, and then I've got 9, 7, and 4-year-olds. So literally, because I'm working from home as well as doing the homeschooling. Well, it's a lot of screen time, and it's like with the children, it's a lot of screen time because they're used to having more interaction. And, it just has that build up of like you're trying to get them to be able to do work as well as carry out your own work in terms of sessions and teaching things as well. So, I mean, it's good because obviously like everyone's healthy and everyone's safe from that perspective at home. But then it's like certain times I've had to just sort of like realign myself, just actually think it's just work, and then just have a particular expectation on the children as to how much they're supposed to be able to do. The school's been fantastic, and even all of those things, like in terms of the technology and stuff and the lessons and the structure of the lessons is quite clear and easy to be able to follow. But then sometimes it's like I've got my own targets and things which I need to be able to set at work as a manager, as well as then making sure that everything's good at home. But then the lines are blurred because now you're getting emails and things at random times because everyone's at home. So it's like you haven't got that journey in. So by the time you've logged in at 8 or something,
got them email,
log in like 5, 6, 7 emails, and it's just like and then people calling like just before you're supposed to shut down to be able to ask for something, because at the end of the day it's not as if you've got that journey home. So it's just like that kind of thing. I think in terms of it, it's like it's a multifaceted level in terms of how COVID is actually affected in terms of the day-to-day, because it's not, the virus might not affect you, but then the working from home situation or circumstance affected it from that way. And then also in terms of just that daily interaction and making sure that the kids are able just to run out a bit, maybe and do stuff.
Because we have families where their parents won't send them out, like they won't take them out. They will not take them out in the fear that you know, as soon as they step out, you know what I mean,
they're gonna got something.
Put that sort of level of fear into some people, and then there's some others who you know they go into other people's houses, they kind of just carrying on with lives, you know, obviously undercover, but carrying on with their lives as normal. So it's just really, I feel like what has happened in terms of the education, from an education standpoint, I feel like parents and carers are like more there's a lot more gratitude shown towards like teachers, like for the roles that they play, you know, like, you know, in our school we have like live lessons at 9:15, then they have reading at 10, they have writing at 11, then they have their lunch, and then they have an afternoon live session, and then they also have like we use like Google Meets where they can talk to their teacher, talk to their friends and stuff like that. And like we get emails just saying like, thank you so much. We try and replicate the school day basically.
Keep giving them that structure.
I feel like, but I feel like parents need it, because the first lockdown, I think like a lot of parents were keeping their children at home, and then after like 2, 3, 4 weeks they were like, I can't do this, they can't, and you do feel for them, because it's just like, my daughter's 3, but it's just like when she's with me, there's like it's her time.
Nothing else is going on.
If you want to work, like you got to try and work without climbing up. Put like tiaras on your hair, like trying to plait it. And I've got like, look at my hair, she's trying to plait it.
She's trying.
It's difficult, it's tricky, but it's like we talk about like community and support, and like this should show us. And I think if there's anything that everyone takes from this, is like the people up there, they don't like, if we look at it, the people up there don't care about the people here. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, the people here, I'm saying that's us, and I think the only thing that we can do is become like tighter as a community, because I think the tighter you become as a community, the more that you could do, because those people, like, you know, what was it, Matt Hancock? With
With
the packed lunch with the loaf of bread, beans and stuff like that. Like, do you really think like he cared, like seeing that picture? So to us, we look at that, we're like, oh my
Jesus Christ,
They don't look at it like that. They're from another world, so detached from reality, and where like they go to school and eat, and they're not in London.
I think it's to do with they're like culturally. I think they're trained to be like that. Do you understand? In regards to where they
don't see what's happening.
If it doesn't affect them or they're in a kind of circle, then they're not really bothered. So they'll have like that kind of like, we apologize profusely for the way in which that we've handled the situation. And it's just like I was saying, it's like about just particular ways of just saying stuff, and it's just like they're very good at just being able to say it, and it's just. COVID has just highlighted a lot of things, and it's highlighted in terms of like, even though people would have been aware of it, just how inadequate and the lack of leadership and the lack of like sense or common sense, should I say, in terms of people from a senior perspective have in terms of just dealing with the day-to-day situations. It's taken for like brother Marcus Rashford to be able to say, you know, about the whole free school meals thing. And like in 39, when I was in school, primary school meals were free anyways, you understand? So it's like, it's not like in the 80s, things were cheaper in terms of the cost of living. Now it's way more expensive, but you're people to pay. And then if you looked at some of the comments in terms of, did you have your dad around? Did your dad abandon you? That's why you were on free school meals, and all of the kind of like really negative and kind of like below the belt kind of made and leveraged towards him. It's just like, it makes you actually realize, actually, wait a minute. It's like, if that's what they really think about someone who's a professional footballer who's just asked, he's just broken the mold of how footballers are generally perceived. And even like Daily Mail and other newspapers have gone about trying to say, actually, do you know what? He's bought his family houses. It's like, damn, is that a crime?
All this.
That's so silly, man. Yeah.
Raheem Sterling.
Like, oh yeah, he bought he's got gold taps and stuff. Like, how do you know? Like, it's just anything.
No, big up the teachers, man. And I guess I think in 2021, you lot's Christmas presents from the parents are gonna be mad.
Hey.
I'm expecting you going in on the last day of term.
What they got for me this year,
It's not just going to be chocolates, man.
No.
It can't be.
Yeah, no, it's always humbling to hear, I guess, like the teachers. And last week we had a policeman on the podcast sort of telling their experience and your experience on this whole COVID thing. I guess for me, and maybe the Mandem might agree, that I guess the only real change is us working from home. None of us have kids, so we're kind of outside of working from home. You're just at home. Our biggest sort of upset is that we're not allowed to go out and see friends and family and whatnot. But you guys are really, really in the thick of it.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different for you guys, but you guys seem to, having spoken to you guys seem to be, I guess, rising above sort of what's going on and seem to be managing it well. So yeah, well done to you, man.
Yeah, man.
That's the main thing. Like sometimes you just got to bring like perspective to it and understand that
100%.
There are people in, like, I mean, everyone has their struggles and whatever. People call them first world problems, but everyone has their struggles. But there are a lot of people in worse situations than yourself. So it's like you just have to be grateful, and that's it. It's
like the analogy that he said is that, like, if everyone gets in a circle and throws their problems into the circle and you're able to see it, you might want to take your own problem. I'll keep it.
I've not been asked to go to war. Do you know what I mean? We're not been asked.
In
our house, you know.
Do you want to get into bring-ins?
Yes. So boys, this part, and I think I said it before, this part of the show, it's just a bit where we sort of bring in anything that we're interested in for this week or whatever. So it could be a song, TV show,
something you watched recently, a book you read,
can be anything,
something that inspired or intrigued, I guess.
I read this book called Black Box Thinking. I haven't read. To be fair, I listen to everything on Audible now because, as I said, when you have a kid around, they don't let you read. Like, you know what I mean? So you have to listen to them unless you're reading something for them. But Black Box Thinking is like it's written by a guy called Matthew Syed. But basically, he looks at, and you guys will probably like it because they link it to sport basically. So they talk about so they'll focus on people like David Beckham and Sir Roger Brailsford, who was like the head of the Sky cycling team. And basically what it does, look at successful people and basically identifies what they did to make them successful. So for example, if you look at Sir Roger Brailsford with the Sky cycle team, like one of the most successful teams in history, and he adopted like a thing called marginal gains. So basically what he did was he would, let's say they recorded the time of the cyclist and they looked at areas in his technique or areas in his his performance that he could basically improve. So if we looked at, let's say, someone who was maybe overweight, who wanted to lose weight, well, how much sleep do you get? What do you eat? You smoke? Do you drink? Those sort of things. Do you exercise? So what that person would do is like, so your main goal is to lose weight. Okay, that's fine. So we look at smoking, we look at drinking, we look at all these things that would affect it. And instead of trying to basically deal with all those things at once, like give up smoking, give up doing this, give up bad food, etc. It's about, okay, so you smoke 20 a day. Okay, so this
give up a couple.
Yeah, try to give up a couple. So you're making small marginal gains basically in order to basically support and help the main goal. And I feel like that's obviously something that we've implemented in our, in our business. Like I think like sometimes people think that they plant a seed and then they're your fruits.
Massive tree,
they're your fruits of the labor. Next day you're ready to eat that. No, you got to nurture it. You got to take time. It's going to grow, and then it might get to the point where you see a few apples on your tree, but it's a process, and you just have to process, but as well as doing all the things that you need to ensure that thing is growing or that thing's improving. So black box is another one.
That's cool.
What's the other one that I was listening to? 10x, which basically just sort of says what it says on the tin, where basically it's just about doing everything that you can to like level 10, basically. Like
that's Grant Cardone's book, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure the author, but
I've heard of 10x before. But
the 10x rule, the 10x rule, and basically it's just about how when those who are successful, like when you're sleeping and and get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, there's that guy who's up at 4 o'clock sending out emails to 6 o'clock. Do you know what I mean? Already working, but he's actually working and stuff like that, and just basically doing everything to that level. I try and read like loads of different things and get different perspectives and try, bring it back to maybe one, and maybe take a bit of that, and see what works best for us, because there's a lot of people that try and give you the formula, but it's not going to work for everyone.
I thought I think what I found was funnily enough was quite interesting, because even though I was saying not so great things, I watched that Hector Bellerin's documentary on him.
Mandem were talking about this yesterday.
Couple man, I've watched it. I'm gonna get that in today.
Serious documentary.
That was in my mind.
No, that was, to be honest, I was like, because I used to play football and I've had a serious injury. I've had an ankle break and ligaments, but it's just like I didn't really realize in terms of the amount for the ACL in terms of from the rehab from the surgery. And I really appreciated is like one of the things which I like about him. I'm not particularly keen on his actual style, but I like his style. It's him. And I respect that, and I just liked the fact that he was very open, even when he was talking. I'm not sure if you guys watched all of it, but basically he was talking about at one point he was going out drinking a lot with his friends.
Yeah, I was like, oh, they put that in.
Yeah, then he said one of the physios actually said like, Hector, like I know what you're doing, and it was just
I know
in terms of like because I just looked at it as like you're injured. It's part of your profession, but you have to be able to come back. But I don't think any of us would have experienced a point in time where you're off from a year from work, but you're having to try and build yourself up to get back ready for work, but from the outside in, and it takes a lot of mental strength for you to be able to go through that. And also in terms of the ups and downs, because also like it's like every time I always say to John, like I'm always slating his performances, and I was saying like, he was saying that even once you're back onto the pitch,
takes 12 months, 18 months.
Yeah.
To the point of where you can actually play to how you were prior to the injury. I thought it was very well shot and very informative.
Yeah.
So good, man.
And just the mental aspect of it, of just seeing them as individuals rather than like he's our number two, he's this, he's that.
Yeah.
But then saying that, then we played Crystal Palace, and I was just like, oh.
You know what I mean?
It's bad. It's bad.
But you know what? I didn't criticize him as much. I like he wasn't. To be honest, he wasn't even one of the worst performers.
He's been better in it the last couple of weeks for sure.
But here's what it is. Tierney. My thing is like I feel like even at Arsenal we've been so used to like mediocre for like the last, honestly, gone back 7-8 years. I feel like if you look at someone like Tierney and what he's given us, I don't think Tierney's pulling up trees. He's doing really well, but I don't think he's pulling up trees. But it's like it just shows you like just him being out a left back being out of the team, and
what a difference it made.
The dynamism, there was no dynamism whatsoever.
Yeah.
And my thing is with Bellerin, I've been screaming like because when Bellerin in his first, I remember his first game against Dortmund, he played away. He got absolute nightmare. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, who is this kid? And then after that, he was brilliant. Like, he was so good. And obviously the injuries impacting on his performance. But you've got to get to, at some point, you either say to him, like, you need to be performing, like, do you know what I mean? Or I think Arsenal have to be ruthless in the sense that we say, well, we could probably get 30 million for him. Like, how many other players in that team can we get 30, 40 million for? I don't think there's anyone really. So, like, and by the looks of it, we need the money, do you know what I mean? And we definitely need a creative midfielder. So I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like he's the one that needs to go, man.
You think so, yeah?
Hot take, got a little hot take there,
We'll chop it up after. We'll chop it up after. Mike's looking ready to go on this one. Anyone else?
Yeah, man. We briefly spoke on it, but I might as well bring it in. Chip, 10 Commandments, another diss track to Stormzy. So let's see if there's a comeback this time.
Cold.
Rich?
He ripped him.
He ripped him.
Mine will be a tune this week. It's from artists I haven't paid too much time. Artist is Faye Mina, and the track is Unrequited Love. Big tune.
Nice.
My bringing this week is a TV show. I don't usually watch like loads of these. I'm not really the TV series guy. But I started something yesterday called Lupin. It is about a Senegalese man, and it looks back through his life in Paris, and he kind of idolizes a burglar, a French burglar, and he kind of applies it to his life to kind of get vengeance for something that happened to his father. But it's just nice, easy watch.
I think my dad started watching that, you know.
Yeah, it's decent, man.
He was asking me about it.
It's on Netflix, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah,
Netflix.
Undoing with Nicole Kidman.
Loads of people have mentioned it.
Yeah, I watched Undoing. Yeah. Undoing's good, man. That's good.
I mean, like the third episode, I was just like, this is.
You're into it.
It's strong. Still, it's strong. It's good stuff, man.
It's looking good. This is looking good.
Let's go on.
Nah, man. No bringing from me this week.
Okay.
Yeah, just wanted to say thanks to you guys for coming on.
Man.
Today.
Massive thanks,
man.
That's one.
Yeah, it's been really good chatting to you, man.
Good convo, man.
And getting to know your journey. And yeah, I think we just want to have more conversations with, I guess, people that look like us, people that similar backgrounds. Just, you don't have to be super famous or excelling in your field. It's just always good to hear from people who are almost doing what we're doing and not, I guess, starting up, but you're just still building, still learning, but you take what you do, what seems very seriously. And for me, I always respect people that do that. So yeah, again, appreciate it, and many thanks for coming on.
No,
thanks, on, guys.
We enjoyed it, man. We've enjoyed it.
Love, man. Love. It's been good.
Love, brothers. Yeah, that's episode 190. It's the Mandem podcast.
Keep it locked.